right. Thank you, Carmen and Mike and the Tulsa Regional Chamber for having us today. We're going to talk about where's all the toilet paper, how herd mentality affects behavior and mental health in a crisis, in times of crisis. So we can move to the next slide. So, as Mike mentioned, herd mentality is a tendency for people's behavior and beliefs to go along with the crowd or to conform to a group in a way that they might not normally behave. And I think we saw evidence of that as COVID-19 began to permeate America. And there were times that people might have been in the store and thought, well, I probably have plenty of toilet paper, but these people must know something that we don't know because they're buying all the toilet paper, so we better get toilet paper as well. So when individuals are affected in that way, they are behaving in a much more emotional way than they are in a rational way. And so we can move to the next slide. That incites usually panic buying, where people think that things are going to run out, and it's highly driven by fear and fear of not being able to take care of themselves or their families. And so that fuels anxiety and brings people to a place of high stress. And I want to talk for a little bit about how that affects businesses and employers. And many of you on the call own your own business or have a business and have employees that report to you. So on our next slide, we talk about how this is really affecting your employees. So we have a morning call every day at Arrowhead Consulting, and we talk about what we accomplished the day before and what we intend to accomplish later today. And several clients are doing the same thing. And I had a woman tell me a week or so ago, she had to fake like her camera was malfunctioning because all of her team, she could see everyone on the Zoom call. Everyone seemed so, happy and chipper and like everything was fine. And she has 3 little ones at home that she's trying to manhandle in the morning and get food ready for, and 2 dogs and spouse also working from home. And it was so overwhelming that she started crying. And so she quickly turned her camera off and felt like they'd already had layoffs. And she thought, if they don't think that I have it together, then I could lose my job too. And that is pretty concerning because 51%, as you'll see on the slide, of employees feel like they have to say that they are always or very frequently acting as though they're happy when they're not. And so to give you a little dollar statistics behind that, each year, stress in the United States costs employers $500 million, and that's per year.
Let's talk about what evokes positive emotions in people. So, being in control, getting attention, positive attention, right? Peacefulness, order, consistency, feeling included. All of those things help evoke positive emotion in us. However, if you turn these around to the negative, they can evoke very negative triggers and negative behaviors in us. So think about how it feels to be out of control and having lack of control. Think about when you're not right. I know we all love to be right, but there are times that we're not right. My fiance would probably argue with that, but there are times that we are not right. Things are out of order. We're not having fun. Maybe we're at a funeral and we're sad. So some of these things in the opposite evoke negative emotion. But what are your emotional triggers? What triggers you? And how do you go about controlling those impulses? So I want you to think about your brain as a control center that regulates your different emotions and brings them in and out as the situation logistically calls for and realistically calls for. But think about a time that you've been in a store where you've seen someone who was a seemingly rational individual lose their mind on the sales clerk. And maybe that's even been you. We have all had those moments, hopefully fewer than often, but there are times when you have just absolutely had it and you have had these triggers that have taken you to a point where your irrational brain is taking control. And I call that your inner dummy. It is where your control center is hijacked and you are not regulating emotions properly. So again, we've all seen those individuals who their inner dummy comes out and you are standing in line watching this play out. You've seen it on the internet. Sometimes people end up on the World Wide Web and everyone in the nation and world can think about and see all of the ways that they are behaving and losing their mind in public. And that in and of itself is where I go wrong.